Hello guys, welcome back to another episode of me doing CCNA lab. Today, day 20, analyzing STP. I already write down everything I want to write down. Um, just want to inform that I watched the video um, Jimmy IT lab about 10 hours ago. And of course, I tried it out first and then I go watch the video. He recommended to do that. Um, and I agree because I learn a lot after I practice, or I do it first and then I watch the video right after. Um, but it's a lot of things to cover, so let's jump right into it. First, turn off the link likes, which you just pretty straightforward follow this step here. And the second thing is to find the root bridge, which is comparing priority numbers here and here. The lowest one is 24,577. And once you found that, turn all the port to a designated ports and that represented by a letter D. So the next thing is to find a root port, and for switch 1 what you do is you compare the cost of this Ethernet interface or the port ID. So in this case, because fast Ethernet cable have a cost of 19, so they're both equal. Okay, and now we're gonna compare the neighbor bridge ID between switch 1 and switch 3, and you could see here the lowest between all four is F0/1. So that being said, the F04 selected to be a routed port. Okay, if you're wondering if how would I know which interface has the port lowest port ID, I mean you could click here and do enable show spanning tree priority number, or the you can see here this is the so F01 is the lowest, right? So that's why it being compared to all four, and that's how I that's how he find the root port for this interface. Now that we know this one, we could assign um, another port ID, a root ID for this switch here. The nearest interface that close to the root bridge is a root ID. And the opposite of that is always going to be designated on the switch that already have the root ID, as you could see here. And then anything that connected directly to the root bridge is non-designated. You can see here there's N here that connect directly to it. There's another one here that then directly connect to this one. And all we have left is the F01, F01, F02. Um, for that, if you compare the root cost of the F04 is equal to 19, but the lowest of the switch 2 if a gigabit interface that costs 4. So Therefore, this psi, it will be assigned to a designated port. The opposite of the designated port is always, not always, but because it's being compared, this one will be blocked out in the non-designated port. And same thing over here. If you were to um, compare, if you compare this to earlier, comparing cost of the Ethernet cable here that costs 19, and then a gigabit cable here that costs 4. So the lowest always win, and that's why this one assigned to be a root port. And the opposite of the root port is always going to be a designated port. Okay, one interface, or sorry, one switch should have one root port. Okay, like you could see here, except the root bridge. Okay. Um, Another thing I also learned from the video is that you could also look at you could also use the command prompt to check your work. So you can see here for this switch, the root bridge, so the root port is gigabit 02. So you can see here, and then opposite of that is always going to be a designated port. All right. Another thing that he teaches is to use another command prompt, show spanning tree details. You check all the details and the total cost here. Okay. And another thing is you could do show spanning tree summary. You could see all the summary of this switch. You could see things enable and disable, the VLAN name, how many forwarding, how many are active. So it's pretty nice and neat. Um, but the command I really like is show spanning tree, because using the information giving help me identify which one I should label as D, N, or R. But um, if the exam doesn't allow you to use a command prompt, then you need to understand the cost and comparison between the priority, um, port IDs, and all that. So I think knowing both is very handy and useful for the exam somehow. That being said, this is all I have for you guys. So hope you enjoy the videos. If you find it helpful, thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for another videos. Peace out.